Have you ever wondered why some of the most powerful people in the world speak the least? It's not that they're shy or that they don't have anything to say. They simply understand something most of us don't. Words are powerful, yes, but silence holds even more power. Think about it. We live in a world where noise is constant. The world screams for our attention. Social media, news, conversations, opinions, everyone has something to say. But in all that noise, how often do we pause and truly listen? How often do we take the time to be still, to think before we speak, to choose our words with intention? Those who speak less, they understand this. Silence isn't empty. It's where clarity grows. It's where wisdom forms. And when they do speak, every word is chosen with purpose. Imagine the strength that comes from holding your thoughts, not rushing to speak, but allowing your mind to sort through them first. Picture the peace that settles over you when you don't feel the constant pressure to fill every silence with sound. What would it feel like to have control over your words, your actions, your energy, rather than reacting impulsively to every conversation and situation around you? The truth is, the quieter you are, the more you can hear, not just others, but your own thoughts, your own desires. You begin to make decisions with more clarity. You begin to speak with more conviction, because when you do, you know exactly what you want to say and why you're saying it. This video is for anyone who's tired of feeling overwhelmed by the noise of the world, tired of speaking without thinking, tired of responding just to fill the space. It's for those who want to step into their own power and transform their lives by learning the secret of speaking less. Imagine a life where you don't need constant validation from the outside world, where you choose your words with care and let your actions speak louder than anything you could say. Imagine the respect, the influence, and the peace that would come from this. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand why speaking less isn't just a habit. It's a way of life that can change everything for you. When you start speaking less, something powerful begins to shift inside of you. It's not just about saying fewer words, it's about reclaiming your power. It's about taking control of your energy, your presence, and your time. You stop feeling the need to fill every gap, to constantly explain yourself, to be in the spotlight. You stop seeking approval from others and start validating yourself from within. The moment you speak less, you make space for something much greater, clarity. You begin to hear your own voice more clearly. And when you listen closely enough, you'll realize that your voice has always been powerful. It's just been drowned out by the noise of the world. People who speak less don't just speak less for the sake of it. They do it because they understand something crucial. They understand that speaking without intention weakens the impact of their words. They understand that speaking too much doesn't make them more relevant. It makes them more forgettable. Every word they speak carries weight. Every pause they take is filled with purpose. They don't rush to fill silence because they know silence is where true strength lies. It's where decisions are made, where reflection happens, and where wisdom is born. The people who speak less are the ones who command respect because they don't waste words. Their silence makes them unshakable. It shows others that they are not desperate for attention, but rather they stand confidently in their own space, secure in who they are. This is the kind of power you can tap into if you choose to speak less. You will no longer be bound by the need to be heard, to explain yourself, or to justify your actions. You will stop living for the validation of others. You will become an observer, a thinker, someone who speaks only when the moment calls for it. And when you do speak, your words will hold more weight than ever before. You won't need to convince anyone of your worth, because your silence will already do that for you. People will listen when you speak because they know your words are chosen with intention, with depth, and with purpose. Think about the people in your life who have the strongest presence. They're not the ones who talk the most. They're the ones who know how to listen, how to pause, how to choose their words carefully. They're the ones who aren't afraid to sit in silence because they know that's where their power grows. The more you embrace this way of being, the more you'll find your own power. It's a power that doesn't need to be announced because it's already there, quietly radiating from within you. It's a power that commands respect without a single word. It's a power that only grows stronger the more you practice it. You may think that speaking less means being passive, or that you'll be overlooked, but the opposite is true. People who speak less often have the most influence. Their silence allows them to observe, to listen, to understand on a deeper level. And when they finally do speak, it's with a depth and insight that others can't ignore. It's this ability to pause, to think, to reflect that sets them apart. They aren't constantly reacting to the world around them. They are shaping it with every word, every action, every decision they make. Their silence is not empty. It is filled with power, purpose, and precision. This is your invitation to stop chasing the noise, to stop drowning in the endless chatter and start listening to the quiet voice inside you. It's time to step into a life where you don't have to fight for attention, because your presence will speak for itself. It's time to embrace the strength of silence and let it guide you toward a more purposeful, powerful, and fulfilled life. When you start speaking less, you unlock a power you didn't even know was there, the power of intentionality. You become the kind of person who chooses your words carefully, and when you do speak, those words have a purpose. Imagine how much more focused and clear you would feel if you didn't have to waste energy on every passing conversation. People who speak less have this clarity. They know that their words are precious. They don't throw them around lightly. Instead, they wait for the right moment, the right space, where their words will create impact, where their message will be heard and respected. This is how you start to live with intention. You start to realize that every word you speak is an investment in your future. The more you speak with purpose, the more influence you have over your own life and the lives of those around you. Speaking less isn't about saying nothing. It's about saying only what matters. It's about being mindful of your impact, not just in the big moments, but in the small ones too. It's about learning to read the room, to understand when your voice will add to the conversation, and when it's better to remain silent and observe. It's this level of awareness that makes you stand out. You no longer react. You don't speak just to fill the air. You speak with the power of someone who knows that every word is a force that can change the course of a moment, or even a life. In a world where everyone is talking, the ones who speak less have a unique advantage. They aren't caught up in the noise of the world. They don't feel the need to compete for attention. Instead, they allow the quiet of their presence to speak for them. This doesn't mean they're invisible. It means they are deeply present in a way that commands respect. They understand that true power doesn't come from how loudly you shout, but from how deeply you listen and how carefully you choose to speak. They are the ones who create space for others to be heard. They are the ones who lead not by dominating the conversation, but by knowing when to step back, letting others express themselves, and stepping in only when their voice will add something meaningful. This level of emotional intelligence is a game changer. It frees you from the need to be heard at all times. It removes the pressure to constantly explain yourself, to justify your thoughts, or to defend your beliefs. You learn that your truth doesn't need to be validated by others. When you speak less, you speak with strength. You speak with the confidence of someone who knows they don't have to say everything to make an impact. Your words hold power because they are chosen with care, not impulsivity. People start to listen not because you speak often, but because they know that when you do speak, it will matter. Imagine the relief that comes with not having to constantly fill silence with chatter, the peace of mind that follows when you realize you don't need to engage in every argument, every debate, every opinion that's thrown your way. You stop trying to prove yourself, and in doing so, you become more of who you truly are. Speaking less isn't a restriction, it's a freedom. It's the freedom to stop running on autopilot and start living with purpose. It's the freedom to step out of the chaos and into a space of calm, where your words, your actions, and your energy align with your deepest values. When you learn to speak less, you begin to shift your entire relationship with yourself and with the world around you. No longer do you react to every challenge or every opinion. Instead, you stand grounded in your truth, confident that your silence is just as powerful as your voice. The less you speak, the more you will realize how much power you actually have. The more you realize that the space you create in silence is the most transformative space of all. That silence isn't empty. It's where you find yourself. It's where you tap into your deepest strength and clarity. And when you do speak, it's not just heard, it's felt. The more you learn to speak less, The more you begin to understand the true depth of your own thoughts, when you stop filling every moment with words, you create room for reflection, for insight, for growth. It's in this space that clarity emerges, like a river carving its way through rock. Your mind becomes sharper, more focused, and the distractions that once overwhelmed you fade away. You start to trust your instincts. You stop doubting yourself because now you can hear your own inner voice, the voice that was always there but drowned out by the noise of the world. This is the gift of silence. It's not just about holding back words. It's about creating the space you need to hear your truth. The more you embrace this quiet strength, the more you begin to realize that your thoughts are powerful. In a world that constantly demands your attention, the ability to pause, to think, to reflect is a rare and precious skill. It allows you to respond, not react. You stop making decisions based on impulse or emotion. You make decisions based on your clarity, your understanding, and your deep knowing. People who speak less have mastered this skill. They don't rush into situations. They don't react to every trigger. They move with intention, with purpose, and when they speak, their words are the result of careful thought, reflection, and understanding. Every word has meaning. Every sentence carries weight. They are not just talking. They are speaking with the power of someone who knows exactly what they want to say and why they are saying it. It's incredible how much more you can achieve when you stop wasting energy on unnecessary words. When you stop seeking validation or approval through endless chatter, you begin to direct that energy inward. You start focusing on your goals, your dreams, your vision. People who speak less are rarely distracted by what others think of them. They are focused on their own path, and this single-minded determination is what makes them successful. Their silence gives them the space to work quietly without the constant pressure to explain themselves or to conform to anyone's expectations. They don't waste time proving their worth. They know their worth, and that quiet confidence is what moves them forward. The more you speak less, the more you empower yourself to take control of your time. You no longer allow the world to dictate your pace, your choices, or your emotions. You begin to trust yourself more than ever before. You realize that speaking less isn't about being passive or submissive. It's about stepping into your own power and owning your space. It's about making conscious decisions, taking deliberate actions, and living in alignment with your values. And this shift doesn't just affect your words, it affects every part of your life. When you become intentional with your speech, you also become intentional with your actions. Your relationships become deeper, your work becomes more focused, and your sense of purpose becomes stronger. There's something truly magnetic about people who speak less. Their calm presence, their ability to listen more than they talk, creates an aura of confidence that others can't ignore. They don't need to shout to be heard. They don't need to compete for attention. They are not defined by the number of words they say, but by the impact those words have. And when they speak, people listen. This is the kind of power that comes from speaking less. It's not about saying nothing. It's about speaking with intention, with meaning, and with the understanding that silence itself can be a force of transformation. By choosing to speak less, you take your power back. You stop giving away your energy in every conversation, in every argument, in every moment of doubt. You learn to trust the power of your silence. You learn to trust that when you do speak, it will matter. And in that moment, you will feel the quiet strength within you rise, unshaken and unstoppable. There is a profound sense of power that emerges from choosing to speak less. It's the kind of power that doesn't need to announce itself. It's quiet, steady, and commanding. It's the kind of power that others feel, even if they don't fully understand it. People who speak less are not chasing attention, but rather creating an aura of respect and reverence around them. The energy they radiate isn't loud, but it's undeniable. When you speak less, you start to realize that your presence alone is enough. You don't have to force yourself into every conversation or fight for a moment to be heard. Your silence speaks volumes. It draws people in. It makes them want to listen because they know that when you do speak, it will be with the weight of intention, the weight of experience, and the weight of truth. You stop seeking validation through words. You stop needing to explain yourself. The need to be seen and heard fades because you learn to see and hear yourself. This shift isn't just mental, it's physical. You begin to carry yourself differently. Your body becomes more grounded, your posture more confident. You no longer shrink to fit into the spaces others expect you to occupy. Instead, you create your own space, and people are drawn to it. They respect you not because you seek their approval, but because you have the strength to stand in silence, in stillness, and in your own truth. The power of speaking less isn't just about what you say or don't say. It's about what you embody. It's about the energy you carry with you every day, whether you are speaking or not. The more you speak less, the more you begin to understand the deep connection between silence and strength. You begin to recognize that silence isn't weakness. It's a form of inner discipline. It's the ability to control your impulses, to choose when to engage and when to remain at peace in a world that constantly pushes you to react, to speak, to assert yourself at every turn. Silence becomes a powerful act of rebellion. It's a rebellion against the noise, the chaos, and the pressure to be constantly performing. When you embrace silence, you reclaim control over your life. You stop being swept up by the currents of other people's expectations and start walking your own path with purpose. This power of silence is transformative, not only for how others perceive you, but also for how you perceive yourself. You begin to realize that you don't need to be defined by the words you speak. Your value isn't measured by how much you say or how loudly you say it. It's measured by the substance of your thoughts, your actions, and your presence. People who speak less understand this. They know that their true worth is not in their ability to dominate conversations, but in their ability to remain grounded, to be thoughtful, and to choose their words with care. As you begin to speak less, you will start to notice that the people around you begin to change too. They will respect you more, listen to you more, and trust you more. Not because you speak all the time, but because when you do speak, it carries weight. It carries the weight of someone who has taken the time to think, to reflect, and to be intentional. Your silence makes them feel heard, makes them feel seen, and it draws them closer to you. It creates a sense of trust that cannot be built through words alone. This is the true magic of speaking less, the way it builds deeper, more meaningful connections with the people who matter most. It allows you to cut through the superficial noise and form bonds that are based on authenticity, respect, and understanding. You will start to feel the freedom that comes from being unchained from the need to talk just for the sake of talking. You will experience the joy of speaking only when it matters, and the power that comes from knowing you don't have to explain yourself, because your actions and your presence are enough. This is a new way of living, a way that's not defined by the constant pressure to be heard, but by the quiet confidence that comes from knowing when to speak and when to simply be. And as you step into this new way of being, you will realize that speaking less is not a limitation. It is your ultimate liberation. When you begin to speak less, you start to realize that your true power doesn't lie in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your silence. This shift in perspective is nothing short of revolutionary. The need to fill every moment with words starts to fade away, and in its place, a quiet confidence begins to rise. You no longer feel the pressure to perform, to impress, or to prove anything to anyone. Instead, you stand tall in your own truth, unshaken by the constant rush of noise around you. You learn that being still, being silent, doesn't make you weak. It makes you strong beyond measure. It's an inner strength that doesn't need to be announced, a power that exists in the calmness of your presence. The more you embrace this, the more you understand that silence isn't just about not talking, it's about controlling your energy. You stop letting the world dictate your emotional state, your reactions, and your interactions. People who speak less aren't controlled by their impulses or the expectations of others. They have learned the art of restraint. They have mastered the ability to listen to their own inner voice before they speak, ensuring that every word, every action comes from a place of true understanding, not from a place of urgency or reaction. This is how you begin to reclaim your emotional sovereignty. You stop letting the chaos of the world pull you in every direction. Instead, you start directing your own energy, your own focus, with purpose and intention. Speaking less gives you the ability to respond, not react. When you are constantly speaking, you are often reacting to the world around you. You're responding to every comment, every opinion, every emotion that is thrown your way. But when you learn to speak less, you give yourself the space to choose your response. You stop being a puppet to your environment. Instead, you become the creator of your own reality. You move through life with a sense of calm, confidence, and control that only those who have mastered silence truly understand. Your silence becomes a shield, protecting you from the chaos of the world and allowing you to create a space where your thoughts, your energy, and your actions can flow freely. This power to speak less doesn't make you invisible. In fact, it makes you more present than ever. People notice the stillness in you, the way you command attention without saying a word. They notice that when you do speak, it is with authority, with purpose, and with the quiet certainty that your words carry weight. People are drawn to that. They respect it, and they listen. They listen because they know you don't speak just to fill the air, you speak to make a difference. When you speak with a clarity that cuts through the noise. You speak with the kind of precision that leaves no room for misunderstanding. And this is what makes your words unforgettable. As you grow in this ability to speak less, you will also notice how much more you start to appreciate the quiet moments in your life. The moments when you don't have to explain yourself, when you don't have to justify your choices, when you don't have to convince others of your worth. These moments become your sanctuary. They are where you recharge, where you find your strength, and where you reconnect with your true self. You begin to recognize that these moments of stillness are not empty. They are rich with possibility, with potential, and with the opportunity for transformation. It's in these moments that you can hear your soul speak. It's in these moments that you remember who you truly are, beyond the noise, beyond the opinions, beyond the need for approval. This is the power of speaking less. It's the power to step out of the endless race for validation and step into a space of peace, of self-assurance, of quiet strength. It's the power to create your own path, to live with intention, and to make an impact without saying a word. When you learn to speak less, you stop chasing attention. You stop living for others' approval. Instead, you begin to live for yourself. And in that space, you find everything you've been looking for. When you choose to speak less, you begin to step into a higher version of yourself. It's like a shift happens deep within, a recalibration of your energy that elevates you to a place of clarity and power. You start to realize that your true strength isn't measured by how many words you say, but by how much space you give to your own thoughts, your own feelings, and your own understanding. In a world that constantly pulls you in different directions, the ability to be still, to stay grounded, becomes your superpower. You no longer need to chase the next conversation, the next approval, or the next validation. Instead, you choose your moments, and you choose them with intention, with purpose. There is an unmatched level of confidence that comes from this. It's not the kind of confidence that shouts its presence to the world. No, it's the kind of confidence that is felt in the quiet of your being. It's the kind of confidence that allows you to stand firm, to hold your ground, and to remain calm, regardless of what's happening around you. People who speak less don't get caught up in the noise. They've learned that the louder the world gets, the quieter they need to become. This quietness doesn't mean they are hiding. It means they are fully present in themselves. They know who they are, and they don't need to prove it. Their very presence is enough. This level of self-assurance is magnetic. When you speak less, people notice something different about you. They feel the stillness you carry. They sense the peace within you. It's the kind of peace that doesn't need to be explained. It simply is. And because of that, others are drawn to it. They are drawn to you because you're calm, you're quiet. Your ability to stay rooted in who you are without ever needing to assert yourself is a rare and powerful thing. You become the person people want to be around, the one they trust to listen, the one they trust to understand. You no longer need to fill the silence with your words. The silence itself becomes your greatest strength. It's in that space that you connect more deeply with others, that you form bonds that are real, authentic, and lasting. The beauty of speaking less is that it gives you the freedom to stop seeking approval from outside sources. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself to anyone because you understand that you don't need to justify your existence. You don't need anyone's permission to be who you are. And this is a profound revelation. It's the moment when you stop outsourcing your sense of self-worth to others and start finding it within. You realize that your value is inherent and it doesn't need to be validated through endless conversation. You don't need to convince anyone of your ideas, your dreams, or your beliefs. You simply need to believe in them yourself. When you speak less, you begin to experience a deeper connection with your own thoughts. You begin to trust yourself in a way that you never have before. Your inner voice becomes louder, clearer, more authoritative. You learn to listen to that voice, to follow it without hesitation, because it's guiding you toward your greatest potential. The more you trust your inner voice, the more you realize that you've always had the answers inside you. You just needed the space to hear them. And when you speak, it is with the confidence of someone who has listened deeply, who has reflected, and who knows that their words have the power to create change. This is the true gift of speaking less. It's the gift of living authentically, of connecting with yourself and others on a level that goes beyond words. It's the gift of inner peace, of clarity, of purposeful action. You stop wasting time trying to be everything to everyone. Instead, you become everything you need to be for yourself, and in doing so, you become a force of nature, unstoppable and unshakable, because you know that your true power lies not in what you say, but in who you are when you say nothing at all. In the stillness of speaking less, you start to experience a shift that is deeper than anything you could have imagined. It's the realization that silence is not something to fear, but something to embrace. For so long, you've been taught to fill the air with words, to keep talking to avoid awkwardness, to keep explaining yourself to make others understand. But in this new place, you discover that silence is not empty. It is full of potential, full of power, full of everything you need to move forward. Silence gives you the space to grow, to reflect, and to truly know yourself. It's not a void. It's fertile ground for self-discovery, for clarity, and for the realization that all the answers you've been searching for are already inside you. When you speak less, you no longer seek approval from others. You stop chasing the fleeting validation that comes from talking over people or filling every moment with noise. You realize that your worth isn't tied to how much you say or how often you're heard. Your worth is intrinsic. It's in the quiet confidence that comes from knowing who you are and standing firm in that truth. People who speak less don't need to justify their existence with every conversation. They know they don't have to explain themselves to be seen because their actions, their intentions, and their presence speak louder than any words could ever do. This power is transformative. It's the ability to choose your words with intention, to speak only when you have something truly valuable to say. You no longer waste time on meaningless chatter, and you stop fearing silence. In fact, you begin to cherish it. You begin to see it as a form of strength, as a moment to recalibrate, to realign, and to focus on what truly matters. When you choose to speak less, you choose to show up in the world with a sense of purpose, not a sense of urgency. You move through life with the calm of someone who understands that not every thought needs to be shared, not every opinion needs to be voiced. You speak only when it aligns with your truth and when your words are meant to bring about change. This shift brings you closer to your own authenticity. You stop trying to be what others expect of you. You stop fitting yourself into molds that don't align with your true nature. You stop trying to please people with your words, and you start to please yourself with your actions. You understand that your voice matters, but it's not your voice alone that defines you. It's the way you live, the choices you make, and the energy you bring into every room. When you speak less, you give more. You give your presence, your thoughtfulness, your ability to listen, to observe, and to respond with the depth of someone who has truly considered every angle. This is where real power lies, not in constantly speaking to be heard, but in learning to be still and know when your voice will truly make an impact. The more you practice this, the more you will realize that silence can be the most powerful form of communication. In silence, you can communicate your values, your strength, and your self-respect without uttering a single word. People will feel the weight of your presence. They will feel your energy long before you speak. And when you do speak, they will listen. not because you talk the most, but because they know your words come from a place of deep reflection, wisdom, and authenticity. You'll stop feeling the need to fill every silence, and instead, you'll learn to make silence your ally. In the space between words, you will find your true power, the power that has always been inside you, waiting to be awakened. You'll realize that your value isn't measured by how much you say, but by how much you listen, how much you observe, and how much you allow yourself to simply be. This is the power of speaking less, the ability to command the room without saying a word, to live a life of purpose without needing to explain every step. And it's in this power that you will find the freedom to be your truest self, unshaken, unbroken, and unapologetically you. The moment you realize that silence doesn't need to be filled, you unlock a deep reservoir of strength within yourself. You begin to understand that speaking less isn't a limitation. It's an invitation to a higher form of expression. It's not about withdrawing from the world, but about choosing to engage with it on your terms. You stop seeking external validation because you no longer feel the need to impress anyone with your words. Instead, you start to impress them with your silence, with your ability to show up fully in the moment, to be present without the need to perform. The more you embrace this, the more you will find that the world around you begins to shift. People start to respect you more, listen more, and trust you more, not because of how much you speak, but because of the energy you carry, the way you listen, and the way you make them feel when you're around. This is where true connection is born. It's not in the words that you say, but in the spaces you create between them. The people who speak less understand that it's in those moments of stillness that the most powerful connections are made. They know that when you speak from a place of deep reflection, when you speak from a place of clarity and inner knowing, your words resonate on a level that goes beyond simple conversation. You no longer need to dominate discussions or fill every moment with noise. Instead, you learn the art of listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart. You begin to hear the unspoken words, the emotions beneath the surface, the thoughts that others can't yet articulate. And in that space, you begin to connect with others on a level that transcends the superficial. It's in this silence that true intimacy is created, the kind of connection that is based on understanding, empathy, and respect. You will begin to recognize that the more you speak less, the more your energy shifts from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance. When you're constantly speaking, it's like you're giving pieces of yourself away, often without even realizing it. But when you learn to speak less, you begin to retain more of your energy. You stop expending it unnecessarily. You begin to use your words only when they serve a higher purpose. And because of this, you start to feel a deeper sense of inner peace. You are no longer in a constant state of reaction. Instead, you move through life with a sense of purpose, with a clarity that others can't help but notice. You become someone who isn't easily rattled because you know that your true strength comes from within, not from the external chaos around you. The more you practice this, the more you realize that your silence becomes your anchor. It's what keeps you steady when the world seems to be spinning out of control. It's in those moments of quiet reflection that you reconnect with your inner power. You remember who you are, and you remember that nothing in this world can shake you when you stand firmly in your truth. Speaking less allows you to live more authentically. It removes the need to conform, to perform, or to compete. You are no longer measured by how much you speak, but by the depth of your actions, the strength of your character, and the purity of your intentions. The more you embody this, the more you become the person others look to for guidance, not because you are the loudest, but because you are the most grounded. You are the one who understands that true leadership doesn't come from talking the most, but from listening deeply, acting thoughtfully, and being unwavering in your values. You become the kind of person who commands respect, not by force, but by presence. You don't need to assert yourself because your stillness speaks for you. And as you embrace this quiet power, you will find that the world begins to respond to you in ways you never expected. Your presence becomes magnetic, your peace becomes contagious, and your influence becomes profound because it's rooted in the strength of someone who understands that sometimes the greatest power lies in saying nothing at all. As you continue this journey of speaking less, something extraordinary begins to happen. You start to realize that you have more room for growth, more space for your own thoughts, and more energy to invest in the things that truly matter. It's as if the noise of the world fades into the background, and for the first time, you can hear your own inner wisdom clearly. The more you choose silence, the more you begin to trust yourself. The noise of the world has nothing to offer you anymore because you've learned that your true voice lies in the stillness, in the quiet moments of reflection and deep awareness. In this space, you find your clarity. You stop reacting to life's distractions and start responding from a place of grounded wisdom. You begin to recognize that every word you speak holds weight. Each sentence has the power to create, to heal, to connect, or to break. And so you speak only when it matters. You don't waste your energy on empty chatter. You choose to use your words as instruments of truth, purpose, and intention. This control over your speech isn't just about conserving energy, it's about conserving your essence. Speaking less doesn't mean saying nothing. It means choosing to say only what serves you and those around you in the most meaningful ways. You stop sharing your energy with everything that doesn't align with your purpose, and you start to see how much of your power was previously drained by unnecessary words. The more you embrace this new way of being, the more you begin to feel a surge of vitality that is unmatched by anything you felt before. The energy you once spent in needless conversation is now flowing back into you, fueling your dreams, your aspirations, and your growth. This power isn't just internal, it radiates outward. When you choose silence, you become someone who is both magnetic and mysterious. People are drawn to your energy because they sense the strength that comes from someone who isn't constantly talking, someone who has a depth that can't be fully understood in a single conversation. They're drawn to your ability to remain calm in the chaos, to stand firm when others waver. You don't need to announce your intentions because your actions speak volumes. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The very way you hold yourself, the way you listen and respond with purpose, commands respect in a way that words never could. Your silence holds power. Power to transform, power to influence, and power to inspire. This transformation is subtle but profound. You begin to shift from the person who felt the need to speak for approval to the person who speaks because it serves a greater good. You become someone who doesn't waste time with unnecessary noise. Your life becomes more intentional, more focused, and more aligned with your true purpose. Your ability to listen to others deepens. You hear not only the words they say, but the emotions behind them, the fears they're too afraid to voice, the dreams they're too scared to pursue. You become a person who can hold space for others without needing to fill the silence with your own voice. In doing so, you give others the freedom to express themselves, to find their own clarity, and to grow. Speaking less also helps you shed the weight of external expectations. You stop feeling the need to conform to the patterns others expect of you. No longer do you feel the pressure to follow trends, to fit into a mold, or to act in ways that don't align with your true self. As you choose silence, you choose authenticity. You choose to stop pretending to be someone you're not. And this authentic self is the most powerful version of you, the version that speaks less but acts more, the version that doesn't need validation but gives it freely, the version that understands that sometimes the most powerful statement you can make is one that doesn't require a single word. This is the freedom that comes from speaking less. It's the freedom to live on your own terms, to choose your energy, your words, and your actions with intentionality and purpose. It's the freedom to be fully present, fully aware, and fully yourself. And as you move through life in this way, you will begin to see how everything around you transforms. Because when you finally give yourself permission to speak less, you finally give yourself permission to live more. As you continue to embrace the power of silence, a remarkable thing starts to unfold. You begin to realize that speaking less isn't just about holding back your words. It's about giving more to the world through your presence, your actions, and your energy. The less you speak, the more you learn to listen. Not just to the words others say, but to the unspoken emotions, the subtle cues, the things that go unnoticed in everyday conversation. When you stop filling the space with unnecessary chatter, you open yourself to a deeper understanding of the people around you. You start to hear what's truly important, what's being left unsaid, and what others need but may not know how to express. This makes you not only a better listener, but a better friend, a better partner, a better leader. The more you choose silence, the more you step into your own personal power. You start to understand that the strength of your presence doesn't depend on how much you talk, but on how much you can hold. It's not about filling the room with noise, it's about filling it with purpose. People will notice this. They will sense your calm. They will recognize that you are someone who doesn't need to chase attention, someone who doesn't need to be heard all the time to be valued. Your silence becomes a space where others can find peace. It becomes a place where they can breathe, where they can think, and where they can be themselves without feeling the pressure to perform. This shift is transformative, not only for you, but for those around you. Your ability to speak less allows others to step into their own power. You no longer dominate the conversation. Instead, you give others the opportunity to shine. You stop taking up all the space, and you start to make room for others to be heard. By choosing silence, you are choosing to elevate the voices of those around you, to empower them to speak their truth, to express their ideas, and to share their wisdom. You become someone who listens, who values others' perspectives, and who makes others feel seen and understood. This process teaches you how to step away from the noise of the world and trust your inner guidance. The less you speak, the more you connect with your intuition. You begin to trust yourself more, knowing that the answers you seek are already within you. You don't need to keep seeking validation from the outside world. You don't need to keep explaining yourself, justifying your choices, or defending your actions. Instead, you learn to trust that the path you are on is the right one for you. And with that trust comes a newfound peace. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself because you know your worth. You no longer need the approval of others because you have already approved of yourself. This is true freedom. Freedom from the need to be heard, freedom from the need to be validated, and freedom from the need to explain yourself to anyone. The power of speaking less lies in the way it changes your relationship with the world. You begin to see that not everything needs to be said, that not every thought needs to be expressed, and that not every opinion needs to be shared. When you choose silence, you choose to step out of the chaos. You stop getting caught up in the distractions of the world, and instead you focus on what truly matters, your purpose, your growth, your peace. You give yourself permission to stop trying to keep up with the noise and instead create your own rhythm. Your life becomes less about reacting and more about responding from a place of calm, from a place of strength, and from a place of self-assurance. With this newfound peace comes the ability to navigate life with greater ease. You no longer feel overwhelmed by the constant demands of the world. You no longer feel the pressure to keep up, to say the right things, or to be constantly busy. Speaking less gives you the time and space to focus on what truly matters to you. It allows you to invest your energy where it counts. It allows you to build deeper connections with those who matter most. It allows you to become the person you've always wanted to be, calm, purposeful, and completely at ease with who you are. In the stillness, you find your true voice. It's not the voice that shouts over others to be heard. It's the voice that speaks with purpose, with power, and with authenticity. And as you continue to speak less, you will discover that this voice becomes stronger, clearer, and more impactful than ever before. It's a voice that doesn't need to prove anything because it simply is. And in that simple truth, you will find the freedom to live life on your own terms, to walk through the world with confidence, and to leave a legacy that speaks louder than words ever could. The more you continue to embrace the power of silence, the more you'll understand that speaking less isn't a restriction, it's a revelation. It's the awakening of a deeper layer within you, the discovery of a version of yourself that is grounded, confident, and aligned with a purpose greater than the need for constant validation. You realize that in a world filled with noise, silence becomes your superpower. It's not that you have nothing to say, it's that you've learned to choose when and how to speak in a way that brings value, clarity, and depth to every conversation. With every word you hold back, you gain something more valuable, control. Not just over your words, but over your emotions, your decisions, and your life. You stop feeling like you have to explain yourself, justify your actions, or argue your point. You start to understand that your true strength lies not in persuading others with endless speech, but in holding your ground, standing firm in your beliefs, and expressing yourself only when it matters most. And this doesn't make you weaker, it makes you stronger. The more you cultivate this inner strength, the more you begin to trust that you are enough as you are, without needing to be anything else or prove anything to anyone. As you embrace this quiet confidence, you'll begin to notice how much more powerful your words become when you choose to speak. Every sentence will carry weight. Every word will be chosen with intention. People will start to listen more closely because they know that when you speak, it's not just noise, it's a message. And because of this, you'll start to build deeper, more meaningful relationships. When you speak, people won't just hear your voice, they'll feel the power behind it. They'll recognize the clarity, the thoughtfulness, and the depth that comes from someone who isn't trying to be heard all the time, but rather chooses to speak with purpose, with authenticity, and with a sense of peace that others are drawn to. The less you speak, the more you understand that every conversation is an opportunity to learn, not just to speak your mind. You listen more deeply, absorb more fully, and understand more completely. You start to see that in listening, you open yourself up to new perspectives, new ideas, and new opportunities for growth. Your silence becomes a tool for insight, a tool for understanding the world and the people around you in a way that words alone cannot accomplish. The more you choose to listen, the more you realize that you have an endless capacity to learn, to grow, and to evolve. And with that growth comes the ability to step into your full potential. Speaking less allows you to start looking inward instead of constantly seeking approval from the outside world. You stop measuring your worth based on how much you say or how often you're heard. Instead, you begin to measure your worth by how well you know yourself, by how true you stay to your values, and by how deeply you connect with others on a soul level. The noise of the world fades into the background, and you begin to find the courage to pursue what truly matters to you. You discover that when you no longer need to fill the silence with words, you find the space to live your life with purpose and intention. This shift is not just a change in how you communicate, it's a change in how you live. You begin to make decisions that are aligned with your truth, not out of fear or obligation. Your actions speak louder than words ever could, because you stop waiting for the right moment to say something and instead create the right moment to do something meaningful. You stop seeking approval from others because you no longer need to prove your worth to anyone. The quiet confidence you develop from speaking less gives you the strength to pursue your dreams, to take risks, and to live with the unwavering belief that you are capable of achieving greatness without the need for constant validation. As you continue on this path, you will begin to see how much more fulfilling life becomes when you stop trying to fill every moment with words. You will discover that the moments of silence are often the most profound, the most meaningful, and the most transformative. In those moments, you reconnect with your truest self. You regain your sense of purpose, and in this journey of speaking less, you will realize that it was never about saying less. It was about discovering the power that lies in saying nothing at all. As you move deeper into the practice of speaking less, you begin to feel the power of stillness seeping into every aspect of your life. Your relationships become more meaningful, not because you're speaking less, but because you're listening more. The connection you share with others becomes richer, more profound, because you're no longer distracted by the need to fill every silence. You start to understand that true connection isn't about how much you say, but about how deeply you listen. The more you listen, the more you learn, not just about others, but about yourself. In every conversation, you discover new layers of your own thoughts and emotions, new insights into what really matters to you, what you truly believe, and what you want to contribute to the world. With every quiet moment, you realize the incredible power that comes from observing instead of reacting. You stop allowing the external noise to pull you in different directions, and you start to become the steady force in the room, the one who holds the space with confidence, with clarity, and with intention. You begin to understand that your thoughts are precious, and that every moment of reflection, every moment of silence is a gift to your mind and soul. This is where true growth happens. In the quiet. In the moments when you're not speaking, not reacting, but deeply, intentionally aware of the world around you. Speaking less doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. The less you speak, the less you rely on external validation, and the more you begin to value your own inner voice. You stop measuring your worth by how often you are heard, and you begin to measure it by the strength of your convictions, the depth of your character, and the integrity of your actions. You start to trust yourself more, knowing that you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. The strength that comes from speaking less isn't just about being quiet. It's about being fully aligned with who you are, with what you stand for, and with the path you're on. When you no longer need to be seen or heard all the time, you create space for a deeper connection with your own truth. And as you stand in this newfound strength, you become a beacon of calm and clarity for those around you. People will be drawn to your energy, not because you're constantly speaking, but because you exude a peaceful confidence that speaks volumes. When you choose to speak, your words are measured and meaningful. They carry weight. They carry purpose. People will listen, not because they feel compelled, but because they recognize the authenticity in your voice. The less you speak, the more power your words will have when you do choose to share them. You no longer need to fill the space with empty noise. You've learned to speak with intention, to speak with power, and to speak when it truly matters. This shift begins to ripple through every aspect of your life. The more you practice silence, the more you find yourself moving away from the chaos of the world and towards your own personal truth. You stop being influenced by the opinions of others, and you start living in alignment with your own values and beliefs. You stop chasing approval and start building your own path. With every word you hold back, you reclaim your power. You reclaim your energy. You reclaim your peace. In doing so, you discover that the less you say, the more you can accomplish. You're no longer distracted by the noise of the world, and you can focus on what really matters to you, your goals, your dreams, and your purpose. And as you move forward on this journey, you'll start to realize that silence is not a void. It's a space for creation. It's the canvas on which you can paint your most meaningful actions. The less you speak, the more room you create for the things that truly matter, the relationships that nourish you, the work that fulfills you, and the inner peace that grounds you. Speaking less doesn't diminish you. It amplifies your ability to live fully, deeply, and authentically. Every moment of silence is a moment to connect with your true self, to become the person you were always meant to be, and to move through the world with the quiet, unshakable confidence that only comes when you no longer need to speak to prove your worth. As you begin to see the power in speaking less, you'll notice a transformation happening within you. The desire to constantly be heard, to share your opinions at every turn starts to fade. In its place, you develop a new sense of clarity. You realize that true power doesn't lie in being loud or dominant, but in the ability to move through life with quiet strength, grace, and conviction. You stop feeling the need to be constantly involved in every conversation, and instead, you start choosing when and where to lend your voice. And when you do speak, it is with such depth, with such purpose, that people are drawn to you, not by the volume of your voice, but by the wisdom it carries. You start to see how much of your energy you were previously wasting on speaking just to fill the space. You realize that there is a profound freedom in knowing when to be silent. You stop seeking approval, stop worrying about what others think of you, and start focusing on what really matters, on the things that align with your values, on the actions that serve your purpose, and on the inner peace that arises from living authentically. Silence becomes a tool for strengthening your resolve. It becomes a source of energy that you can draw from whenever the world feels overwhelming, whenever the noise of daily life threatens to drown out your own thoughts. The more you embrace this power, the more you realize that the silence you choose isn't about withdrawing. It's about creating space for the right things to emerge. In silence, you begin to understand yourself more fully. You begin to hear your own thoughts clearly, without the distractions of the outside world. You start to identify what you truly want, what truly excites you, and what you're meant to contribute to the world. The less you speak, the more you understand that your actions speak louder than words ever could. You no longer need to talk about your goals, your ambitions, or your dreams. You simply begin to live them. And as you do, the world begins to take notice. People begin to respect you, not because of what you say, but because of what you do. Your actions, driven by the clarity of your inner silence, become your most powerful form of communication. You no longer need to explain yourself. You no longer need to convince anyone of your worth or your potential. Your life becomes the message.